Literary Recipes with Lily Library. Today's recipe is inspired by the All Souls trilogy of books by Deborah Harkness, specifically the last book in the series called The Book of Life. In the book, the characters are found eating what's called hot milk cake in a cafe. Hot milk cake gets its name from the scalded milk that's found in the recipe. The scalded milk gives your cake a distinctive moist texture. What I really like about this cake is how simple it is. It requires minimal ingredients, you don't need any special equipment, and it's really quick and easy to make. What we're going to do is start by mixing some of our dry ingredients together, which includes 1 cup of flour and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. You're just going to whisk those together until they're combined. Then, we're going to take our half a cup of milk and put it in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes to start. You want your milk to be hot and starting to get little bubbles around the outsides. Now we've used scalded milk in another one of our recipes before, and we made it on the stove in a little saucepan, which you can also do. Microwave is just a little bit easier, takes a little bit less time. So let's start there. Keep an eye on your half a cup of milk while it's in the microwave heating up. Mine only ended up taking about 1 minute to get hot. You don't want it to boil. That's gone a little bit too far. So just keep an eye on it, and once you see it starts to get little bits of bubbles, then that's done. Now that we have our milk heated up, we're going to add a tablespoon of butter to the milk and a teaspoon of vanilla. Give it a stir and let the butter start to melt. While our butter is melting in our milk, we're going to whisk 2 eggs in a bowl until they've started to thicken up a little bit. I'm going to use a hand mixer. You could do this by hand if you wanted to. You're going to beat the eggs until they're thick and foamy, and then you're going to gradually add 1 cup of white sugar while you're mixing. Now that we've added all of our sugar to our eggs, you can see the texture change and how nice and thick the eggs and sugar have become. Next, we're going to add our dry mixture, which includes our flour and baking powder. And we're going to get rid of our beaters and use a spatula or a spoon to stir them together. Next, we're going to add our hot milk mixture to our batter. At this point, our milk has cooled down a little bit. Mix our batter together. We're going to pour it into an 8x8 pan that's been greased with cooking spray. You don't need to worry about doing anything else to it. I just put my cake in the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 minutes. But we're going to check it after 20 to 25 just to make sure everything's going okay and that it's not getting overcooked, because all ovens are different. While our cake is baking, we're going to make a super easy frosting. Now, I like to make a chocolate frosting for this cake, but if that's not your jam, you can always do something different. You can leave it plain, or you could even sprinkle cinnamon sugar over the top, or make a vanilla frosting if you'd rather do that. You can put everything in one bowl and not make a ton of dishes for yourself to have to clean up later. This frosting is also nice because you can tweak it to your preferences. We're going to start with about 4 tablespoons of softened butter. To that, you're going to add about 2 cups of powdered sugar. You can add more or less depending on how thick you want your frosting. Next, you're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And to make your frosting chocolatey, I'm going to use cocoa powder. And you can use as much or as little as you like depending on how rich of a chocolate flavor you like. More is always better in my opinion. Then you're going to add just enough milk to get your frosting to come together. You want to add it slowly so that you don't go overboard and add too much and then you end up with a runny frosting. If that does happen, you can fix it by adding more powdered sugar and then adjust your other ingredients to make it come together again. Completely no stress frosting recipe. Honestly, if I need to make this recipe quickly, I hardly do any measuring, which is, I know, a cardinal sin in baking, but not for this frosting. Throw it together, adjust as you need to, and you've got the perfect frosting for your cake. The best and most important part is that you get to taste test your frosting along the way. Make sure you cover your frosting with plastic wrap while you're waiting for your cake to come out and cool down. This is the perfect cake to make if you need a last-minute dessert, and it can easily be doubled if you want to make a larger quantity. Say if you want to do a layer cake or put it in a 13 by 9 instead of an 8 by 8. The hardest part about this recipe is not eating an entire bowl of frosting while you're waiting for your cake to cool. of Literary Recipes with Lily Library, where we made hot milk cake from the Deborah Harkness book, The Book of Life. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you make it, we'd love to see your pictures. Send them to us on Facebook or Instagram and make sure you tag us. As always, the link to the recipe will be in the description box of this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.